Hi everyone, welcome to today's show. We are discussing a very interesting topic today, and we've had some preliminary discussions that have been really fun already, so I'm looking forward to a very awesome conversation. We are discussing careers in the informal sector. So can you have a PhD and still build a career as a mechanic and still be like really good at it, or can you still just have a JHS certificate and still be awesome at whatever you do? We are speaking to Mr. Emmanuel Awumi of Cecil Consult, a car care company here in Spintex. We are in Spintex right now, and we are about to enjoy this conversation. I hope by the end of the conversation, we all have something that we can look to and be able to build a career in the informal sector and not feel inferior or superior or any of the complexes you may be experiencing. So let's enjoy today's conversation. Good afternoon, Mr. Awumi.
Good afternoon.
I can see proud alumni of GIMPA. Are you done already?
Yes, I'm done.
Oh,
but
wow.
I'm back in there pursuing a diploma program in transport and logistics.
That's interesting.
Even though I'm done with my degree, I've gone step back to pick a diploma program in transport and logistics, and there's a reason. Maybe through the conversation it might come up.
That's very interesting. All your accolades, you are still in the informal sector.
You know.
So let us understand, what exactly is the informal sector? I spoke to a friend and he didn't understand it. I had to go and look on Wikipedia to give him an explanation. So what exactly is the informal sector?
Yes, I think what is happening in our society and what has transpired have led to a segmentation within our educational sector and then the work environment in terms of the human capacity development environment. There seems to be a class system where persons going through school or being developed with the human capacity to work has been classed into two separate sections. Now, when it comes to the educational system, when you talk about technical vocational education, those who go through that system, I believe you know how our society figures them out as probably those who are not highly intelligent or cannot really stay in the regular academic space. That is why probably they've chosen a program in the technical vocational sector. Then those who are able to go through the secondary, through the university, have also been classed in another way and form. Now, when you come to the work environment, those who are able to work within the banking space, the hospital, the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers, have also been classed, in another space as the white collar job persons. And those who pick up jobs like the car wash, the shoemaking, the carpenters, the masonry, the dressmakers have been also classed as the blue collar, exactly, which is the informal. So the white collar is the formal sector, and the blue collar becomes the informal sector. Now, that begins to give you a picture of how the form of class system we're running in our society, where supposedly the non-intelligent ones go through technical vocational school, and probably the non-intelligent ones take up jobs within the informal sector, whilst those who seemingly seem to be intelligent and pick up jobs,
all the numbers,
take up the white collar jobs, or go through the secondary and the university education. And so you are sort of classed as such, when you have to pick up job in there or out there. So that is what really brings out the formal and the informal sector. Now, the informal sector, a bit step in, is also systems are not structured within businesses in that space. So most operatives within the informal sector don't have a well-structured business operations. They don't have probably bookkeeping. They don't have systems in place that can keep their business running even way after
Checking
them
for stock and
all that. Okay, they don't have the structures. But meanwhile, the formal sector have a well-structured system that can really even run a business without the owner. But within the informal sector, it becomes very difficult because they lack such structures in terms of business operations, business management, bookkeeping, and all that. Most often that is lacked. And so that is why obviously they could be tagged as maybe those who are not so intelligent or who haven't gone through academic training. They work in there. So that's the difference.
That's interesting. So I know you have gone through SHS and did you go to technical school?
Yes, I went to technical school. Yes.
Then you went to the university.
Exactly.
And now you are going back to do a diploma.
Yes.
That sounds like somebody who should be in a white collar job.
Exactly.
So why are you in the blue collar?
Right. I grew up realizing that the injustice in our society in connection to class system breaks down the spirit of people. Now, when you look down on somebody, you literally are telling the person he or she doesn't belong. And naturally, I find it difficult to want to look down on anybody because I see special value in every human being. But growing up, I realized this was the system we have in our society. And I sort of told myself, no, what can I do within my own space to challenge the status quo? And so when I went to the secondary school,
secondary school was that?
Nifa Secondary.
Oh,
at Edukrum. Yes. Oh, okay, great. You know, and I got to Form 2. I realized my passion in automobile started growing stronger. And so, but then the fear was that if I go to the technical school, I was going to be tagged. If I stay through the secondary stream, I'll be elevated by society. You are okay. But then it got to a point and I asked myself the question, is society going to dictate to me what I should become in future or what I want to be, or I really want to be what I want to be myself? Then I realized if I allow that to go, it will mean that my life will be dictated by society. And how long can society continue to dictate my life for me? I asked myself.
As long as you let them.
You understand? So I took up the challenge and I told my parent that no, I think my passion for automobile will require me going to the technical school. Even though I can go through the secondary and do engineering at the university, but I wanted to practically truly understand the automobile in its full entirety, and I need practicals to support my theoretical background, and it's the technical school where I can get such information. It was a challenge for my parents to really allow, especially my dad, you know, because every family also want to keep to that societal class, you know. So how is my son going to the technical school? Doesn't mean he's going to be tagged as not being intelligent, and you know, all that went through. There was quite a bit of a struggle about it, but eventually my mom stepped in and then got him to understand that when growing up, I was so much interested in fidgeting with objects and trying to understand the nitty-gritties within them. And so why not? If that is my area, he should allow me to do that.
Go mommy.
You know? So I had to withdraw. After I ended the second year, I now have to go and start all over at the technical school. You know, so you know. So I went through the technical school, I graduated, and behold, I became the first among the best 25 students out of all the technical schools in Ghana. And was awarded a bronze medal from City and Guilds of London. I will show you. The medal is hanging out there. I'm telling your camera will later.
We definitely capture
pick it up. So I excelled in the automobile space. And so I did not stop it there. I went further to KNUST School of Mines. That's in Takwa, Yeah, where I did an advanced program in automobile engineering. Okay, so that began to get my parents to be excited about the path I've chosen. And myself, I started getting satisfied, you know, realizing that, well, if the world can recognize my performance and give me an award, then that means there is something good I'm doing. Okay, so that went on, but then when I finished the advanced program, because I want to challenge the status quo, I decided to pick up a program at the university. All right, so I can balance academia with technical.
Okay.
All right, so I picked up a marketing program, and then which I successfully graduated.
Interesting.
Okay, so that is to say that the fact that one takes up a technical program does not necessarily mean that it's because he's not intelligent. It's because that is his passion, that is his drive, and he wants to educate himself well in a particular field. You understand? But unfortunately, society doesn't seem to understand it that way. But I have been able to prove that wrong.
Awesome.
I decided after my degree program to pick up a diploma program in transport and logistics instead of doing my master's immediately, because so far the transport and logistics program, we have it up to the advanced stage in our country. And so transport and logistics has got a relationship to automobiles. Okay, so when we talk about transport, it's not just about cars. It's got to do with aircraft, it's got to do with ship, it's got to do with trains. It's a system where you can move people and goods from one point to the other. That is what transport talks about, right? And you're talking about the logistics aspect. Now, having been in the automobile industry, I realized I wanted to become, as part of my career development plan, to become...
I have some of that. We'll get to that.
You know, a transport and logistics management consultant. So I wanted to understand the industry very well. So why not rather pick up a program that will get me down there to understand the system before I move up. So picking up a diploma program or investing in educating myself through the diploma program will rather enhance my knowledge in the field, rather than rushing to go and do my master's in marketing and use it for what? You understand? Because it does not coincide with my career development plan. So if I have to step down and rather grasp the understanding in the industry I want to operate in very well by having a lower grade, which is diploma, I would rather prefer to go for it, because knowledge is power, not certificate.
Knowledge is power, not certificate.
You understand? So when I got the understanding to that end, I decided to pick up the course, and currently I'm virtually done with it.
You will come for the graduation. So you started from SHS. What about somebody who have been, let's say, agreeing with society? So I've gone through JHS, I've gone through SHS, I'm going to do my degree, I'm going to do maybe a master's, but then I don't have a white collar job and I'm unemployed, but I want to do something. How exactly will I take all of what I've done and still be able to work in the informal sector?
Good. Now, you, that person, even have a better advantage. Now, if we want to talk about education, education is for us to be transformist, not to be conformist. Right. If you go through an educational system and you cannot transform a system, then there's a bit of question mark about your education. If you go through an educational system and you have to just go by standards that have been set down without thinking outside the box to be innovative and creative, how can you develop and grow? What will happen is you will be stagnating, because you are only following a model that has been set down by someone just to fulfill and accomplish a particular objective. How do you develop? You develop when you move out of one system into the other. Okay, so if you are not transforming a system, then there's going to be stagnation within the system in which you are operating. Good. Now, you are a graduate. You've gone to acquire knowledge. And that knowledge is supposed to transform a system to bring some improvement that will give credence to your education. Now, we've identified within our society there is an informal sector. We've been able to define it. It's because the systems out there are not structured. The systems out there are not organized. The systems out there are not being productive. What is it then for the graduate to do? Having gotten the knowledge. If you remain in the formal sector, what good would you have been doing to the informal sector with your knowledge? It is just like not forgiving someone who has offended you and you are asking for forgiveness. From another person. Okay, so you need to use your knowledge as a graduate as you've got it, because going through university education is not an end to itself. It's a means to an end. You've gone to acquire tools that you need to use to drive a product. So the university education is not a product in its entirety. They are tools that you now have to identify a product and use those tools to drive the product. So let's take the informal sector to be a product. So you now have to use the knowledge you have carried from school, the management you were taught, the administration you were taught, the accounting you were taught, the economics you were taught, the human resource you were taught, the engineering you were taught. Venture into the informal sector, pick a particular product within the informal sector, use all those knowledge and drive that product to become a viable product. What would you have been doing? You would have been adding value. You would have been structuring the system to conform to systems that we have within the formal sector. Now, 80.7% of the total labor force in Ghana works within the informal sector.
80.7%. Wow, that's huge.
That's huge. The informal sector employs the huge number of workforce of our workforce, right? We have just about 6.3% that works within the public sector. Then the private formal sector employs about 7%.
Wow.
Okay, how could we or have graduates who are migrating from schools, all of them find themselves or their way into these sectors? That's it. It's practically impossible. Now, but because our society have how do I call it? Have sectioned the society into this sector of informal and formal sector, there seems to be a tag of wanting to work within the informal sector if you are a graduate. And because you want to avoid that tag, you want to wait and go into the formal sector. So what we need to do is to remove that tag, that stigma that is associated with the informal sector. Then that can create an enabling environment to attract those who can't challenge status quo to migrating. That means there need to be a rebranding of the informal sector. Now, how can that rebranding be achieved? It can be achieved by you and I. So I have taken the step, I've taken the stride, a graduate, I've come into the informal sector, I've taken a job within the informal sector called car wash. I've added value to it, and my target market is among the middle and upper class. Okay, you should be here to see how we treat cars. We don't just wash cars, we treat cars. Most of the products I use we can't find on the Ghanaian market. They need to be imported. That should tell you the technology within that industry being so high. How did I discover that technology? Because of the knowledge I acquired from the university to help me in research, to get me to understand the terrain, the industry better, and then invest into sectors that will suit my environment. How did I get all that? It is through university education. So should we all pick up the knowledge we acquire from the university and identify a particular unit or item or product within the informal sector, structure it so well, add value to it, our standards will be matching up with the formal sector. We will then have been creating an enabling environment that will be attractive to get others similar to us to want to come to join. Unemployment would have been reducing. Assuming I have about 100 of my kind, 1,000 of my kind who are graduates doing similar thing, I have about 25 workers. Multiply that by 1,000. And you can imagine exactly a huge number of people who will be employed. Rebranding the informal sector is critical. You know, so once the informal sector is rebranded, then it makes it attractive for graduates to want to migrate in there, come in to structure the system and develop it to grow. Now, who does the rebranding? It will take you, the graduate. It will take me. It will take us. Okay, to bring our knowledge to bear to transform the informal sector. Now, let's take it that, for instance, now we have some automobile companies coming to our country to want to come and set up a factory. Now, who are the human resource base are they going to employ? Are they going to be employing economists from the university? Are they going to be employing HR degree holders from the university? Are they going to be employing mechanical engineers? They are going to be employing automobile technicians. They need them on the field because this is the field of automobile. How are we treating the technical education systems in our country to be able to build the human capital base for such automobile companies when they come? Which of our universities is running degree in automobile engineering?
It's none.
Okay, so this gets to confirm how we've perceived our technical and vocational education. That is going to affect our growth and development speedily because we are in a technological field. Automobile is one of them. Okay, now we have automobile companies flooding. Do we have enough human resource for them to feed them?
Now we have the opportunity and we don't have the human
resource.
Feel the opportunity.
You understand? So what is going to happen is probably some of the automobile technicians, graduates are now have to be recruited and be sent out for training. But why don't we create the environment here and train them ourselves? Why don't we place value on them? Why don't we create an enabling environment for the automobile industry to strive? Similarly, why don't we create an enabling environment for hairdressing salons to strive, for dressmakers business to strive, for shoemakers business to strive, for masonry? Why would we create an environment where value can be placed on such?
Some of these things.
You understand? So if we have an educational institution that is training people and our society is adding value to some of these craft works, you can imagine the type of even structures we'll be putting up. We wouldn't be having structures that will be collapsing because we've just used a wayside mason who doesn't really know some of the codes in building to put up buildings that will be collapsing, killing lives.
And even for all these hairdressing people, do we even know what the chemicals do to the heads of the people they are working with? And generally we all become safer.
Exactly. So there is no sector within the informal sector that should be downgraded. When you take time and research into any product within the informal sector, it will amaze you how big that industry is, which is not being tapped. In the car wash business, who thinks the car wash is an industry that is really worth venturing into? But I can tell you the billion-dollar industry that the car wash business is. In terms of knowledge, not just washing the cars and making the money, but in terms of knowledge and the various industry that can be built within the car wash industry. But because we are not researching, because we haven't placed value into such sectors, we don't put in a lot of research work to develop industries that can create jobs. Similarly, you take a driver. The driving business, you are handling lives. So it shouldn't just be an industry meant for school dropouts. I believe there could even be a policy. If you don't graduate from SHS, you will not be given a driving license to drive even a commercial vehicle. This will be achieving some two things. It will be encouraging and motivating a lot of people to want to go through the educational system. And then it also inform them, give them enough knowledge such that when you're handling passengers on the road, they will have some thinking to know that
customer service
and all that. That also becomes like how do you call it? A tourist attraction, because when tourists come, they use our drivers, they use our taxi drivers. Can they really communicate and tell them about the potentials of businesses and all that in our country?
That's true.
You understand? But we've left it off to school dropouts, we've left it all to the informal sector, and we are all concentrating on the little amount of people or opportunities within the formal sector.
But somebody would say that all of this sounds interesting and motivating, but man for chop. So if I have gone through 4 years of rigorous education, paid money for a degree, and I come to the informal sector, maybe they can't pay me enough for me to stay there. So why exactly should I come there?
Yes, and that is why we lack growth and development, because the mindset of most of us, the youth, is just about money, not about performance. Okay, yes, you need money, but in the entrepreneurial space, it's about delivery and performance. Money becomes a secondary issue. Now, without performing, there can be no room for development. So if I'm just looking for money and I do any shoddy work and get the money, how sustainable will be that shoddy work that can sustain and grow for more money to come and develop? So we're all thinking about what to do immediately and get the means immediately, acquire the properties we need immediately, forgetting about the future. You know, but as growing people, we need to want to think about the future for our next generation. So whatever we're doing, a bit of sacrifice must be put in there. Even as we make and chase for our money, we should be looking at whatever we are putting down should be able to withstand the test of time. Okay, such that we can leave a legacy that can move on, and that is how we can elevate ourselves out of poverty.
You mentioned about the entrepreneurial journey. So does that mean if I am a graduate and I want to work in the informal sector, I necessarily have to become an entrepreneur? What if I'm not cut out to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, if you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur, you still have a space to operate, because most entrepreneurs operating within the informal sector need support. In terms of administrative support, they need account support. They need you see, running a business, it's a whole industry. So I'm operating a car wash. I need human resource manager. I need.
Because you employ people.
I employ people.
They are labor force. You have to take care of them.
Okay, good. I need an accountant. I need a supervisor. I need a customer relation person. Okay, now there are some of the jobs that you can carve as a consultant service, where you come in, offer it, and move out. Something like the accountant. Okay, something like the human resource. So you, the graduate, can become a consultant, providing the human resource services to these washing bays. So you have a business where you recruit personnel, well-natured, crafted, trained for these washing bays. So you keep moving around, and once you are noted, you are even called. I need staff of this caliber. You are in business. You'll be paid for. All right. The accountant comes in to come and run the accounts of the business and move off. Okay, so you realize that there could be pockets of businesses that you can run. So currently here, I have an external accountant who only comes in once every week to come and check on my account and move out. All right, because I don't need a full-time accountant. So he's working, but he's got this as part-time, and that is gaining him extra income. Someone can decide to go in full-time and then can have about 10 or 15 washing bays.
Even that's a day.
You even be making money more than your employment.
That's true.
Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So it depends on how you identify the need within the sector, package it, and present it. So it is possible.
It's possible.
You know, it is possible how to really get it to run. As a graduate, as you are, locate a space, add value to it, and you are in business.
Yeah, because I mean, in school we do like final year projects, which is usually research projects. So if you can identify a need and do a thesis on it, then when you come out, you should still be able to use that skill to identify a need in the society and actually fill it. You mentioned in your talking earlier about your career development plan. What does that look like for somebody in the informal sector?
Yes, you have a passion to really want to achieve a particular objective in life. Now, that passion needs to be accomplished, but it takes a process to eventually get there. I could have gone straight to get all these things done, but I don't have a strong family background in terms of financial support that can keep financing me throughout my career growth. For instance, I lost my dad at the early part of my education. My mom was a housewife, so she cannot do that. That I can be generating income to help me eventually achieve my final goal. So it could take me years in accomplishing that, but I'm deriving what? Fulfillment. And that is success.
So you just spoke about success. Can you give us some of the principles that you have held on to as a highly educated person in the informal sector that have made your career successful?
Integrity.
This keeps coming up everywhere.
Integrity, ethical values. You know, I always say that when we educate our generation and the generation to come with ethical human development systems, we wouldn't have to struggle too much with greed and corruption.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
You know, so I believe in ethical human development. And so when I get my workers employed, I let you understand that you are not just coming to make money. Your value systems must be kept clean. Now, and I applied that to my work ethics as well. So for instance, I had a situation where a customer brought a job to be done. At the end of the day, I couldn't get all the product that I required to be able to get him satisfied. But I had worked over 5 hours on the job. He was right there to see all that I have gone through. Then at the end of the day, the job came out good, at least 95% good. But I wasn't satisfied because the 5% was not there. So he asked me how much he was going to pay. I told him he owes nothing. He kind of like, how? I've been here with you. For 5 hours you've been working on my car. How come you are not taking any money? I told him, I don't take money for the sake of wanting to raise money. I take money based on a customer satisfaction. Because you are paying for your satisfaction. You are not paying for me just touching your car.
No, that's some real stuff.
By visual research and examination, I've realized quite a number of players within the informal sector, perhaps possibly some within my industry and beyond, approaching me to find out the model, the kind of business model I'm using in running my business. And so I try to educate them on some of the structures they need to put in place if they really want to live their standard to up to a certain level. And I have gotten to realize from those interactions that I think it's about time I try to create a workshop or some seminars and then invite operatives within the informal sector to come in, so that we put resource persons together and then educate them on the various things they need to put in place, structures they need to put in place, business models they need to use to be able to leverage and lift their businesses up. So for instance, you have a fitting shop which was established somewhere in the 80s with a particular environment still being same even in the 20s. They're not developing, they are not growing it, they are not putting structures to transform, elevate it, and now automobile has gone tech. So even in terms of knowledge, they need to be investing into training, into knowledge acquisition to be able to move the business to another level. And so I'm looking at a situation where I set up a workshop or seminar, bring these people together, and then we can inform them to have enough knowledge to help them develop their businesses, and that will help in the transformation and the rebranding of the whole industry. And if I should get any fund support or any support from any of such industries, I think we should come together and we'll be able to help our society. I'm open up to that. I'm a resource person, and so any organization that might be interested in helping in transforming and rebranding the informal sector, I'm all out for it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Awumi, for having us. It's been a very great conversation. Thank you very, 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 very much.
You're so welcome. And keep it up. What you're doing is so inspiring.
Thank you.
I remember when I met you the first time and at TEDx, and having grown and come this far encourages me and motivates me. That's a good path. Keep it up.
Thank you.
You might meet the challenges, but just keep focused.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
And you succeed, right?
So unfortunately, we have to cut the conversation here, but thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. I had a lot of ideas running in my head, so then I'm sure some graduates too also got that feel, and we will look to do better, rebrand this informal sector and make it attractive. Don't sit at home with your masters. Don't sit at home with your marketing degree. Get out there and get something done. Until next time, thank you for watching Career Wednesdays. Like the video, share, interact with us on social media at Career Wednesdays. You can also follow Mr. Awumi as Cecil Consult on all social media platforms. Thank you very much. Bye.